Hi everyone, and welcome to this Vodacom Durban July betting preview for goodforthegame.co.za. Well, here it is again. The Durban July has rolled round, this time in its rightful spot on the first Saturday in July. And looking forward to it. I've got to say that I am a bit disappointed. I was planning big invites, having a bit of a gathering at the house. And then CIRILLO Ramaphosa came on last week with a fairly inevitable, I guess, here in South Africa, and in particular Gauteng, announcement that no social gatherings will be allowed. So, yeah, we'll be doing everything virtual. We'll be doing the Durban July draw, all of that. So looking forward to getting stuck in. I can also tell you I've got absolutely no clue. I don't have any clue. And I say most years I don't have a big clue. This year I've got absolutely no clue. So I'm really looking forward to hearing from the two guests. And let's start at the top of the screen there with Alan Moscrop, a.k.a. Southpaw on the Good for the Game forum and Twitter. Alan, good to have you back on the show. I would say the year's flown by, but it hasn't been quite as long as a year since we spoke.
Yeah, no, thanks, Brent. Great to be back on the show. And good to be back on with Jason as well. Looking forward to it. Another lockdown July, I think. And I don't think, I was amazed. I think one of you guys told me that recently that they haven't allowed people back at the track at in SA for pretty much since COVID started. So, you know, it's probably even stricter, I think, this time around. I don't think the owners are allowed to go. So, yeah, a little bit strange, but hopefully a good card. 10 races instead of the 12. So it's a little bit less studying required, and hopefully that ties up nicely so we can catch the rugby at the end of the races.
Yeah, that's it. And it certainly must be. I mean, as you know, the horse that the Good for the Game syndicate's got, Loving the Victory, has actually won the last two starts now. But it's weird because, okay, we took Loving the Victory down to Durban, so not many of us are based there anyway. But imagine winning the Durban July and not being able to lead your horse in. It must be, I suppose it's still a great feeling, but it's just not quite the same when you're not at the track. It won't be that great without the crowds. But let's welcome a little woozy down the bottom. And judging by that concoction in his handy, little woozy could be a little boozy by the end of the show there, Jason. How are you, sir?
No, very good. Thank you. Thanks, Brent. Thanks for the opportunity to chat. And how's it to the guys from Good for the Game? Always a pleasure with Alan and yourself. I do think that, last year's July was also under very strict lockdown regulations. It's very, very tough, but it's needed. I mean, we're going through... what are you drinking there, Brenty? What concoction?
This is straight water, I can tell you.
Just checking. Yeah, it's very tough in South Africa right now, and we have to just be clever about what we do. Obviously, the NHA have imposed stricter jockey travels, and a lot of guys are up in arms about that on social media from after the July. So, end of the day, we've just got to make things happen. Yeah, we've just got to be grateful that the July can take place. And that the guys in Durban and the guys traveling to Durban, your perennial favorites traveling down today, arriving tomorrow in Durban. So, if Cyril had cut all travel, we might not have had a couple of the favorites, a couple of the Terry runners, as well as obviously Joe Soma's got the green light, making his way down to Durban.
Excellent. Well, let's get stuck in. And Jason, I'll start with you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up the horses in betting order. We can discuss them as we go through, and then you guys can also say if there's any roughies you fancy, and then what your sort of betting strategy is going to be on the race. We'll go over at the end, and I know you guys have both given me a couple of other races on the card where you fancy something. So let's start with the favorite. Got the green light. I'm using the prices at Hollywood Bets, and just to mention, if you want to open an account with them, there's a 15% deposit bonus, and you can click the link below the show. Got the green light though, Jason. It's 5-2. The favorite going to win this year?
It's definitely the horse to beat. If it wins, it's taking on an 87-year-old record of a horse coming back, winning the July after a layoff. So, Joey Soma, he's won graded races. July is, the benchmark in South Africa. He knows what he's doing with this horse. A lot of people are saying, he's gone the wrong way, he's gone the wrong route. But end of the day, he's a worthy July favorite. I don't think 5-2 is the right price. I think 7-2 is more where he should be in line. But having said that, the guys in Joburg are not scared to fire. They follow the Soma stable, who are also a firing stable. And I respect the horse. I mean, you just got to look at its form lines to see how well it's done. He won at Greyville last time out. Great turn of foot. He's been there a while. He's been just relaxing in the stables. Then came back to Joburg and traveling down again. So, like I said, a lot of guys are up and down in terms of how they feel about the travel arrangements and that. But got the green line, right? I think it ran second last year in the July. So, at the weights, it's got a little bit to do to beat my first choice in the race in the terms of the weights based on the Durban July last year. But obviously he's matured. He's a 4-year-old now. He's matured from from under that 3-year-old wait for age sort of scenario was. Definitely a massive runner. Draw 14, not a problem. Good turn of foot. I think a worthy favourite, but like I said, pricing up. I think the bookmakers are a bit skintier. I think it should be 7-2 plus field.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go to Al. Now, Al, I know you're known on the Good for the Game forum for your tendency to hit fairly long prices in the feature races, but of course, sometimes you get to a feature race where, quite frankly, the long prices you just kind of know the favourite's going to win. Are you looking to oppose Got the Green Light here, or are you backing it?
5-2 is to me it's too short for this race. I think it'll go bigger on the day, probably maybe even starting tomorrow. It'll go bigger. It's Jason pointed out that the return from a layoff. You know, it's for me. I would have liked to have seen another run. The last run was 2 months ago today. That is a concern for me. I looked at his form after his breaks in the past. He hasn't won after break. He didn't run badly in one of his last return from a break, which I think. He came back over 1400 and he ran second. I think it was the Hawaii Stakes in Turfentine. So that's just my concern. A bit of a break, but form, course form, weight, you know, distance. He's got everything going in his favour. But 5-2 for this race, 18 horses in the July. It's just too tight. You need to be a very good horse to be in the sort of 5-2 mark for me, and I'm not sure that's a true reflection. He's a good horse to beat, but 5-2 is just too tight.
Al, we'll stay with you for the second horse then. Horse number 7, Linebacker, currently priced at 4-1.
Yeah, so he's the leading hope of the 3-year-olds from the Vaughan Marshall Yard. You know, his last win, really impressive. You know, I've seen a few interviews and videos about the preview for the July, mentioning that win and kind of how he came across the track. So potentially could have won with a bit more had he not drifted across the track. So I think he's right up there. He's going to be firing towards the end. I do have a slight doubt. You know, I'm not sure that he's going to improve as much as what everyone is saying. I think there are potentially a couple of others who might improve equally, if not slightly more. But let's see. You know, I think Marshall's having an incredible season, last season as well. He always has a 3-year-old spot on. So, yeah, he's a massive runner for me, definitely in the top 3.
Right, Jason, Linebacker for you?
Yeah, I must have a shout. It's my dad's selection in the race, who's a avid form studier down in KZN. I got a call earlier from a mate of mine, said, please on your show, tip Linebacker. For me, Linebacker is the obvious form horse in the race in terms of the 3-year-olds carrying 53. It all depends on how the race pans out in terms of speed. We think they're going to go. Obviously, another bookmaker's put up for a horse to be top of at first at the 400 for betting purposes, just to try and ensure a nice, well-run race. But for me, I think Linebacker, like Alan's alluded to, I think it's reached its peak. I don't say it can't win. I will be putting in my top 6 selections. I'll definitely be sticking it in the pick 6. But I've looked a little bit around the form lines, and for me, the stable companion on its last run, the way that Rascallion was finishing over the 2000, I think there's going to be not much in it again between those two. So for me, I'm not in the camp of Linebacker, and I'm not saying that Rascallion can't win either, but I just think that some of the older horses will have the measure of the 3-year-olds. Take nothing away, carrying 53, having a great draw, Vaughan Marshall, an astute horseman, one of the most respected men in the game. I hope that for him that this it pans out for him, but. I look for value in the race, and at 4-1 too, a 3-year-old against the likes of Rainbow Bridge, the likes of Bulgarian, do it again. He's going to have to be some sort of racehorse to beat those guys.
Oh, well, let's go on to the third horse in the betting, Rainbow Bridge, 6.25 to 1. What does that work out to? 13 to 2, 12.5 to 2, or something like that. 25 to 4, I guess. What do you think of this one, Jace?
No, definite runner. You follow social media, the guys really, really like Rainbow Bridge. They really, you just got to look at its last form runs since Luke Ferraris has taken over the ride, since it's been a slight change of tactics. They're going to go. This horse is going to be gunning them down. It's a class horse in the race. It deserves to be the highest merit-rated horse in the race. It deserves all the accolades that it's got. It deserves to be one of the favorites in the race. But under 60 kgs against a few other horses that last year it was giving weight, or it was getting weight from, now it's giving weight to. I just think that the weight turnaround with a horse like Do It Again, I think Rainbow Bridge is fighting for third or fourth in my head. I've tipped him fourth. I think that he's definite quartet inclusion. Can he win? Yes. Is he going to be in my pick six? Yes. But you're asking me to put my head on the block here. I've got to go against him for the ultimate win if I'm choosing one horse.
Right. Southpaw, yourself on this one?
6-year-old last winner in the July, I think, was 1980. So it's going to take some feet to turn that around or to break that record. I don't have him in my top 4 at all. I know he's a class horse, but I just think he's actually better now over shorter. Often find this with really good horses that are in their prime at the 2000. They're really good, and as they age a bit, probably the 1600 is actually more 1800 is more up their street. So I actually don't think the 2-2 will suit him on Saturday. So for me, actually outside the top 4, more like the top 6.
Right, let's stick with you then for Do It Again. Same price.
So what I mean, I think this is Jason's fancy. So I need to be careful what I say here. I haven't got him to win the race, but I think if you listen to the stable this week, I think there's a show later on tonight where Justin Snaith maybe asked a couple of more probing questions about his chances. But Do It Again, I think they sound quite bullish so far this week. They reckon he's in a good place. The last run was really impressive. It's quite a hard fought win. He had to work for it, but he showed that he's still loving his racing. I'm not quite sure. For me, I'm probably still leaning towards more the 3-year-olds and the 4-year-olds and the older horses. But he's class, and I'm interested to see what the yard is saying tonight and tomorrow with regards to the chances.
Before I go to Jason on this one, I don't know. Is it again? Is the number the draw in Durban again? I know, like Loving the Victory ran in Durban, drawn 12, or is it more according to weight this time? And because I haven't even had a look at the weights yet.
It's all based on the draw. Yeah, we all hate it, but it's
never made sense to me. Right, Jason, Do It Again. Alan reckons you're going to tip this one to win it. Are you?
100%. This was 13-14 to 1 when Richard Fourie was booked to ride. I got 14 to 1, and I'm glad I got 14 to 1. The horse is now 6.25 to 1. Stable on Sunday night on another betting show said, ask Justin Snaith to tip his top 4. He said, in this order, Do It Again, followed by Bulgarian, followed by I'm Not Sure. You just got to look at its last run. He said only reason he ran it was because he couldn't get a penalty. So he could have actually been dropped. They could have dropped him a rating point or 2 because of the hard-fought win. But he broke the class record in Durban. He knows how to win the Vodacom Durban July. He's 2.5 kgs better off than what he ran with last year. Last year he carried 60 from draw 18, flying at the finish. This year he's carrying 57.5 against similar field. He's got the green light done at the weights, Rainbow Bridge done at the weights, Bulgarian done at the weights. I'd be stupid as a value punter not to have taken 14 to 1 about a 2-time past champion of the Vodacom Durban July. I understand the 6-year-old connotation, but for me, Richard Fourie, Justin Snaith, 14 to 1, you've got to have a bet.
Which show was that? Was it the Clocking the Gallop Boys or one of the bookmakers that?
No, one of the bookmakers on Sunday. No, one of the bookmakers on Sunday. They had obviously Dees and Lyle and Justin on board. Tonight's actually the official Vodacom Durban July panel sponsored by Hollywood.
No problem. I'm just mentioning Hollywood's odds here, but is it World Sports Betting's one?
Yes, 100%. You can go look at their podcast. It's up on their website where he says he tips the first 4. He tips his 4 horses. But when Dee says in no particular order, he goes, Do It Again, Bulgarian, and then anyway, guys, listen. I just think that at the price, you can't go wrong with a horse like that. That's why I've tipped him as one of my better place bets. I'm going top 3, not top 4. I know Hollywood are offering top 6, top 3, 13 to 10, or just over 13 to 10. I think that's worth the bet as a best bet. I'd rather take that than a horse like Desert Miracle, who our friend Alan's gone against to win race 5 in the 2-year-old race and all the rest of it. I really just think that Justin. I know he hasn't had the greatest season in Durban by his own account and by his own his stature, but I do think that he's primed and ready to win this race. I just think Bulgarian's carrying a little bit too much pudding this year in terms of the weight he has to carry based on what he won with last year. He's definitely obviously gone up in the ratings and deserves the weight, but Do It Again. It's in the signs for me. Anyway, no more for that. 14 to 1. I've had a bet. I'm in. That's what I've got.
I think last year, last
Sorry,
year,
Al.
I think they did the. I think they did a similar show last year, and I remember they put Justin on the spot again, also with his top 4. So after this, I'm going to go check what he said for last year to see how that panned out.
See how close he was.
I think he did.
Yeah.
He did. I think they were pushing him for like, you know, because he had a number of runners last year as well.
Yeah, 100%. But that's the thing. He hit Bulgarian last season. That's what he did. He hit it because it couldn't. If he had run it in a few different races, it could have got penalties. He kept it under the radar, and that's what he's done with Do It Again. In my head, I'm not talking out of the mouth of the trainer. Just talking as what I've seen. He's hidden Do It Again. He's got him running. You just have to look on social media. Candice Lenferner's pictures of how well and videos of how well Do It Again's doing at Summerfeld. So for me, like guys, you know, like I said, I'm not going to go on and on, but 14-1 into 6.25-1. I'm not the only one that backed it.
Yeah, plenty of money there. We'll stick with you then, Jace. Rascallion, 8.33-1 there at Hollywood Bets.
In my top 4, I think this horse will beat the stable companion Linebacker, like I alluded to earlier. I think, you know, I know it's been beaten last couple of starts by its stable companion, but I think 2-2 will suit the son of Vercingetorix. Sean Veal draws 6 for Vaughan Marshall. It's my wife's selection in the race too, so I've got to support that. She's an astute form study at 2. So I do think that, you know, the way it finished last time in the Daily News, you've got to take note. I know Linebacker drifted across the track from the outside to the inside. People said if it kept straight, it would have won by further. Just go and have a look at the race and see how the Rascallion was finished. That's. I think it's a big runner.
Right, Alan, you in agreement there?
Yeah, I think he'll be on top of the stablemate. I think the one thing about Rascallion that worries me, you know, it doesn't seem straightforward. So I think it could be a horse to maybe check out on the day, see how he's behaving. I think they gelded him a few runs back, but I don't think he's the most straightforward of horse. You know, he's obviously been placing in top quality pretty much his whole career. Hasn't won that often, but always there or thereabouts. But actually, you know, my actual pick for the race is probably coming up next. But the way my pick beat Rascallion down in the Cape, you know, if Jason's giving Rascallion a good shout, I'm hoping that, you know, brings KOMMEDIEDING into the equation, because there was that one race down in the Cape where Rascallion was pretty soundly beaten by KOMMEDIEDING over the 1800. And I know they've reversed that in Durban. So, you know, the question for me is probably who's going to enjoy Durban more? Is it the Marshall 3-year-olds, or is it the KOMMEDIEDING kind of, I guess, the story for the small yard? Can they land something in the July?
Well, let's move on to KOMMEDIEDING then, because you're right. It wasn't next because I had another horse priced the same, but I thought, seeing that you moved on to that one, let's start with you on KOMMEDIEDING. Yeah,
I mean, just because they've obviously, you know, they've run against he's run against the Marshall quite often recently. I think so. He's had 2 runs in the Tau. What is it? 6 runs in his career in total. So I'm not sure there's many, as far as I can remember, many runners that have run in the July with so few runs under their belt. I think Vercingetorix didn't have many runs when he ran into July. I'm not sure he ran the July, actually. It was the Daily News. But the 2 runs in the Tau, the first one, complete write-off. You know, him and the stablemate, I don't know what they were doing around the bend, but literally took each other out. And I'm not sure they were stablemates, but certainly in similar colours. And so that's a complete write-off. The next race, the last race in the Daily News, I mean, that's going to be a strong form race for me. I think that is the race to watch in terms of form lines over the next few months, and even on the rest of the card on Saturday. Take note of what ran in that race behind Linebacker. But it wasn't a bad run. I know Linebacker went past him. I know Rascallion went past him. But to me, it wasn't a bad run. For the July, obviously, drawn 18, he's going to have to take his medicine probably and drop in off that sort of draw. But I actually think that might suit him. I think coming off the pace actually might suit this horse more. He's tended to race handy in his last couple of runs, but if you go back into his first few wins in the Cape, he was actually coming off the pace. And you've got Gavin Larena, hasn't won the July yet, and I think he's had to get down to 53 kgs for this. So I think he's normally rides at around 58, and I think recently I saw an interview with him. He'd already got down to about 55.5. So he's putting in some pretty hard work on in the sweat room to get down to that weight, but strong jockey, big race jockey for me. I think that can make a big difference for this one. So that's my pick for the race. I've gone with him. I thought the price might shorten. It seems to be holding at 12.5 to 1. I've actually seen some slightly bigger odds elsewhere as well. But I think on the day, probably a bit of money coming for it. Probably a lot of money from the Cape. He's got a bit of a loyal following down there. So yeah, at the moment that's my my pick for the race. But 18 draw, not impossible. It's been won from in the last 10 years. There has been a couple of winners from that draw. And even last year's winners came from 16, I think. So it's not insurmountable.
Doable. Well, I can tell you what my bet is then already from what I've heard from the two of you. I'm taking the swinger, number 16, Do It Again, and number 18, KOMMEDIEDING. I mean, that's, I suppose, for two horses drawn so wide to come in would be quite something. But Jason, let's get your opinion on this one. Do you think it's worth it throwing in the swinger there with Do It Again?
No, of course. I think Michelle Ricks and Harold Crawford teamed up as a formidable training duo. Credit to them. It's fantastic to see them have a runner in the big day, and fantastic to see what Michelle's doing in the training ranks. I think KOMMEDIEDING is a big runner. Gavin Lerena getting on board. I feel sorry for Sihle Chele, but this is racing. The connections need the best that they can get up there, and they feel that Gavin might get a little bit more out of him. So I respect what Alan's saying. I think that Linebacker fairly beat him last time out, and I think Rascallion, was finishing a little bit better too. But I do agree that with a little bit more of patient tactics, and maybe the draw will dictate that, and you could see a big finish from KOMMEDIEDING. I'm just worried about the 2-2. I think next 1800, I think that's where I like to see this horse. I'm a little bit worried about the distance, but having said that, 53 kgs on its back, it's got nothing. So with Gavin Lerena up, he's prepared to get down. He's prepared to melt away in the sweat box. Like Alan said, I'm not going to talk anybody out of having a bet on this horse. I've included in my pick 6. I've included in my quartet. I think it's a big runner. Lots to improve. And I definitely think that Alan, he finds these long shots 10 to 1 pluses. I'm not going to talk him out of having a bet on that.
Excellent. Well, then, glad to hear you got it in your pick 6. And maybe I could ask you if you can, closer to the time, WhatsApp me your pick 6. I'll put it on the Good for the Game forum. And if any of the boys want to follow your pick 6 and to maybe take a percentage of it, they can do so. I guess you'll be 100%. Pretty upset instead of being the only ticket when there's 10 guys joining you.
No, 100%. And just one thing I've noticed, while I'm just having a sip of my, it's not a beer, but it's a Bernini, just because it's lockdown. We've got to just suffice what we can.
You drink what you can.
Yeah. I'm just looking at your screensaver there, the background there. Is that not Do It Again winning the July 2021?
No, that will definitely not be 21, and I'll tell you why. Because I used the same screensaver for the show last year, so exactly. I think it'll be.
So that's 2019.
2019. Is it 2019?
Yeah, it is. But I'm just.
21, of course. I'm thinking of 21. Geez, I'm thinking of 21 as last year. Me what?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so
I think you put the winner up on your screen there, Brent.
It's the Omen.
There we go. We got them both up. We got the swinger there. KOMMEDIEDING and Do It Again. Let's stick with you, Jason, for the next horse. Same price. Bulgarian, you mentioned it there earlier. 12.5 to 125 to 2, part of the Snaith stable. And you said the second pick, I think, of the Snaith stable.
Yeah, a defending champion. Justin did allude to the fact that he thought there wasn't much between Do It Again and Bulgarian on the way they're working as such. I just think that jumping up in weight like he is, he had a decent comeback run, went 5th last time out behind Rainbow Bridge. Second run after rest. You can call the gallop sort of the second run back a good blowout. But Bulgarian for me, I'll include him because he's got class about him. He's a quality horse. I backed him to win the Met, so I don't want to get done out by that. But do I think he's one of those horses that I can stick my neck out and say at the weights, the way that he's, the weight that he's carrying now based on his win last year and collateral form, he's not a horse that I can have a bet on. Is he a horse that can win the July? Yes. Purely on class. Smanga Khumalo rides. He knows how to win. And like Justin also said on the show, whatever horse Richard picks, he always gets mulled that he hasn't picked the other one. So it's, Murphy's Law. It is what it is. Smanga knows how to win the July. He won it on heavy metal. I won't be leaving this horse out of any permutations, but like I said, I think the stable companion is the horse to beat. Right,
Alan and Bulgarian.
Yeah, I think obviously Richard's taken Do It Again. He has the pick, but I think you can't complain with the jock booking in Smanga Khumalo. He's going to give it a good best chance he can probably have. I wasn't that disappointed with his one run in recently. You know, I think it wasn't bad. I think obviously it's had some issues. But, you know, he races well fresh. You look at that run. I think it was the run after the July win in the Cape. I don't know what race it was. I think it was a feature down in the Cape, but came from absolutely nowhere and just mowed them down. So I still give this one a chance. I know at the weights he's not as, you know, he's gone up. Obviously, with his rating has gone up, but I still give him a chance. I've got him in my top 6.
Right, and let's go on to the final horse that I'm going to bring up the individual price on, and that, Alan, will start with you. She's a keeper at 16.5 to 1.
Yeah, I guess he's really progressive. You know, you think 3 runs ago she was winning a merit-rated 74 race, and all of a sudden, you know, 3 runs later she's in the biggest race in the country. The 1900, you know, which got her in that qualification race. It wasn't the best 1900 field that I've seen in recent years, so I don't take a huge amount from it. She seems gutsy. I think that's probably, you know, she doesn't mind coming off the pace. She doesn't mind having a bit of a bump in a rough run race. But to me, I think probably been a bit of money coming for her, but maybe a bit of local money in KZN. But I'm not quite sure. She'd have to continue to improve rapidly to feature against these sort of horses. I didn't take that much from that 1900 win last time out. It just wasn't the best 1900 field I've seen in recent years. Right,
Jason, anything from you on this one?
No, I see there's been a bit of money. I mean, she was 20 to 1 at Hollywood earlier today or this morning. She's now 16, almost 17 to 1. So, yeah, I think Alan's right. I think the fact that she won last time out, she beat nothing. Let's be fair. I know Matterhorn's in the July, but if you look past the top 6 or 7 in the betting, I know a lot of people are saying this is one of the best Julys that they've seen. I might disagree there. I think for me, good top half of the field in terms of betting. The rest you could have allocated to a number of horses. I think she's a keeper, is the unknown quantity in the race. Take nothing away from that. I think obviously Gareth Van Zyl here in terms of having a runner, it's fantastic. Warren Kennedy, our past South African champion jockey, riding. You know, the form's a little bit like pocket power. All she needs to do is win. You know, and that's what she's been doing. Whether it's 74 merit rating, whether it's 1400, 1600, 1800. This is obviously the biggest test, and I think for me she's a little bit outclassed if I just look at pure form. But having said that, we don't know what's happening at the training tracks. We don't know what's happening. I know that the stable are a punting stable, so they're going to have a few flutters, and you can't get hurt at 20 to 1. For me, can she win the Vodacom Durban July based on what I see on paper? No. But having said that, she is the only unknown quantity in the race. The rest you can see. The rest is collateral form. The rest you can say yay or nay. This horse is a little bit in between for me. So I'm a little bit undecided if I'm going to throw in the pick 6 looking for a result. I doubt I will, because I'm heavily in the camp of do it again in terms of my smaller pick 6. Bigger cover pick 6, I might just throw in for a bit of a result. But having said that, concur with Alan. She's got a lot to do to win this.
Oh, well, let's go through the rest of them, and I'm going to bring the betting up just sort of 3 horses at a time. And Jason, anything catch your eye there? You don't have to talk on each one, but if there is anything you think might run into the places or something?
Well, there's been a lot of talk on social media again, and I know I'm harping out about social media, but you've got to look at what the guys are talking about, and I like just following that. And Sovereign Spirit's been one of those horses the guys have been saying for the back end of quartets, also unknown quantity. Candice Bass Robinson, Keegan DeMille, third run after arrest. Also run, do it again form lines there. There's Rainbow Bridge form lines. I think it has to a little bit to do to win the race, but can it run in the top 4? Yeah, it depends on the pace of the race, but yes. For me, Crown Towers, carrying what's it carrying? Let me have a quick look here. I don't have my glasses
53.
on like you. For me, Crown Towers at the top of the straight. If it gets a soft lead, this horse can definitely run into the money. I know Justin tipped it 4th out of his 4 runners, but I think with 53 on the back, I think this is a very, very gutsy horse. Obviously, a horse with a bit of issues. It seems quite headstrong. But for me, out of those 3, if you had to say to me, put places on a horse, I'll be putting on Crown Towers.
Right. Anything, Alan, that jumps out for you as maybe a swinger or a place bet there?
None of those. I think if I've seen the money like Jason mentioned for Sovereign Spirit. But if people are giving Sovereign Spirit a chance, I think you've got to give Nexus a chance, which I think is probably 50 to 1. in Nexus, he put Sovereign Spirit in his place both meetings in the last. I think they've met probably in the last 6-8 months. Like soundly put him in his place. He's better off with the weights. He gave weight to Sovereign Spirit in that last win. His form isn't bad. It wasn't a bad run in KZN last time out. So, I don't know. I haven't heard what Justin said about Nexus. I know 2 years ago they thought this was one of their best horses in the yard. It's had its issues. So I've got Nexus as a possible lurker coming in for, you can get like a big price for a top 5, top 6. Definitely one for me to include. Just think that, on its day, I went back and looked at some of its wins at Kenilworth, and it's won some really good races. Comes well off the pace as well, so it could be one that's finishing strongly.
Right, let's bring up the next batch then. Wait for Jason. I haven't got your comments on those three.
No, it's fine. I'll just touch on Nexus. I think Ellen hit the nail on the head there. Justin did tip it, and the question was in no particular order, but he had to think of third and fourth, and he tipped Nexus third. So in terms of where he's thinking, so. I do. Alan's, always right. He's always right. I listen to him. He's a very knowledgeable, astute form studier. Nexus was touted last year before, as one of the better horses around, and just seems to fail at the big hurdles. 2-2, not sure that the distance he's going to get it. But having said that, if they hold him up, and he'll be running at them late. So yeah, top 6, have a bet.
Right, and I'll stay with you, Jason. Those are the final horses in the race. They're big prices, all of them 75 to 1.
I'd just like to say well done to the connections for getting into the July. With respect, Express from the US, probably they're the only unknown quantity in terms of the distance. Quality horse over shorter. If he stays the 2-2, he might be able to run into the money. But with respect to the rest, I think TRISTFUL could even be 150 to 1 on other websites too. So with respect to them, well done for having a runner. Enjoy your day. Pity the owners can't be there, but it's always it must be a great feeling to have a Vodacom Durban July runner.
Right. Are you going to write those off as well, Al?
I think Express from the US is I did find one stat today, which when I did it, I was like, oh my god, that's an incredible training stat. That the trainer, Stuart Pettigrew, last 4 years, 18 runners at Greyville, 50% win rate. 50% win rate from 18 runners from Raiding, from Gauteng, which is incredible. Any of the big trainers would kill for that sort of rate. And there wasn't like 1 or 2 horses dominating all those wins. There was a number of horses, at least 7 or 8 horses in that win. So he's coming down with purpose. But actually, I'm not sure if he's coming down with this one or if it's the one in the race before, where he's got the favourite, quite a short favourite. I think it's in the horseshoe.
Yep.
So I don't know if this one's coming. I don't know if they're coming down with the win in mind for that one, or whether Express from the US has a chance. He did finish on top of Got the Green Light in Got the Green Light season return. That was over 1400. So he's not. He probably is a bit of an unknown quality, as Jason says. Bit of a concern over the distance, but he also beat that very progressive sprinter. I think Battle Force. He beat that one fairly convincingly as well, and that's come out to win 2 or 3 on the spin. So it's got something about it, the horse, but I don't know what happened in the last run. I haven't seen any comments from the yard, but it was a bit of a shocker.
That's the thing, Alan. I mean, you earn ratings over distances. This horse has earned its rating to get in the July over distances that are almost like sprinting distances. So with respect, that's why I say it is one of the unknown quantities. I think well done for them to getting in the July. Great stat in terms of the 50% win record. I just don't think it's going to be a rah-rah July for them.
So Jason, would I be right in saying a horse like that proven over shorter would be hoping for a really slow pace?
Well, yes and no. A lot of those horses, those type of horses like a quick turn of foot. So it depends. This is a 1,1600 meter horse, so it can get away with a slow pace, 2,200, and then kick. But then you've got your front runners like Crown Towers and all the rest of it that are also a little bit fresher, going to kick. This horse is going to need a bit of a good pace. So, tucked in nicely, nice and chilled, nice and relaxed, where we don't know, nobody knows how good Express from the US or how long its burst is, because it only seems to burst for 200 meters or 100 meters when winning 14s and 1600s. So I think personally that it'll need a good pace. unless it's going to race handy. So it all depends on tactics, Brent. Yeah, so for me, it's what happens on the day. It's going to be awesome to watch. It's going to be. I've been wishing that it was Saturday already for the last 3 weeks. I haven't been excited for a race meeting like this for a long time, which is great. It's just a pity that it's during lockdown. But just before we move away from this race, I know you're going to go through the best bets in that. Just one of your other form and posters on your website, Catsmug. He's firmly in the camp of got the green light. He thinks that's the winner. He thinks that's the horse to beat. I know a lot of people respect his views on your website, so I thought I'd just mention that. His exacta is got the green light from Do It Again.
Right. And you've obviously looking for Do It Again to win with your 14-1, but you're also backing it here. I see in your best bets for a place, and you say, Jason, you're going to go rather for the sort of 13-10 top 3 option rather than the top 6.
If I love it to win, Brenty, I mean, I've got to go as short as I can. For a top 4, I think it's 8-10 or just 8.5 to 10 at Hollywood, which is also a fair price for a best bet. But for me, I think this horse is going to be right there. So 13-10, top 4, Hollywood. I think it's worth a bet.
Right, and then let's just talk about your bet in race 9. Singforafa, is it?
Singforafa.
Yes.
Obviously, we're going into the last leg of the pick 6. Quite a tough sprint race. Eden Rock being scratched. So it brings in a lot of different things. The post-mergence grade 2 over 1,200 meters. Favorite is a horse called MK's Pride, who beat a horse called War of Athena, who's probably even money for the race before for the Garden Province. I just think that it's at 8-1, 9-1. Singforafa is very good value. You just have to go to the last race when it won at Scottsville. They all ran on the same day. Singforafa, MK's Pride, and all the rest of it. Singforafa won in a quicker time than the horse that won MK's Pride's race. I know they've stuck blinkers on MK's Pride, which probably bring it, sharpen it up a little bit more, quicken a little bit more at the top of the straight. Singforafa is now carrying 56. It was carrying 60 that day. I'm a times boy. I like to look at times. Now it's carrying 57.5. My apologies. And MK's Pride was carrying 56 that day and now carrying 60. So I'm just looking for value in the race. I think Cornet Spies, he knows how to travel. He knows how to win. He generally has a winner on big days. And I just think at 8, 9, 10-1, if you can get stretch from your bookmaker, it's a nice Eachway bet in the last leg of the pick 6.
Nice value bet there. If you are new to our channel, by the way, please hit the subscribe button, especially if you like your rugby betting. We've got a live show every Thursday night at 9 o'clock, the handicap. And I'm also a cycling fan, a mad cycling fan. I can tell you, Alan also enjoys his cycling, and he's calling it the Tour de League, and that is exactly what it's been for me. I don't follow my Tour de France bets at the moment. I'm horribly off form, but I certainly do enjoy analyzing the races and do a video preview for each state. So hit the subscribe button if you're a Tour fan or a rugby fan. But let's go on to Alan now. I see Alan nodding. Have you also been leaking, Al?
Have they arrested the lady who caused the accident yet?
They arrested the lady today, I believe, that caused the accident. I thought it was something. So she stepped out with a sign to the camera like that, and my immediate thinking was, is this some political statement or something? But it was just some woman trying to say hello to her gran and grandpa or something silly, but obviously clueless about cycling. And caused the accident. She was actually arrested today. Look, I don't think too much will come of it. I think they just wanted to make a bit of an example, but there's been some horrific crashes in the Tour de France. And Alan, before you give us your best bets or your bets for the race meeting, have you stopped the leak? Have you had a winner yet?
I literally, thank goodness, I've been busy during the week, because I went stage 1, 2, and 3, and I'm just like, no more, I can't do it, because it's just a small bet here and there, and then 10 stages later, and you're thinking, what happened to my account balance? It's just.
No, that's it. You bet. I mean, I bet really small on cycling, and every now and again you hit a big winner. But the fact is, if you're losing, a couple of units, if you want to call it that, or whatever, you're after 21 stages, if you haven't pulled something out the bag, you're in quite a bit of trouble. And normally, what happens to me, I get to the middle of the tour, and if I'm doing badly, then I start looking for the match bets and start firing big bets on. Now, sometimes that works in my favor, and I get out of jail. But if you start losing those as well, then before you know it, it's been a very expensive tour. But anyway, so that's the cycling betting. Take us through your bets on July Day, Al.
The Eachway value bet, Imbewu. So this is owned by the Hollywood Syndicate, and I think they've got 2 in the race. Drawn a little bit wide, but what stood out for me, one on its debut, And since then, I think this week, Tuesday, and certainly this week or the last couple of days, 2 runners have come out and won since. So that's pretty good, fresh, strong form lines for me. That's what I'm looking for in these sort of 2-year-old races, just looking for something that's got a bit of form collateral to stand out. And, I'm a big fan of the William Longsword offspring. It was a good sort of quality horse I really enjoyed in its short career. So just one that stood out for me. A little bit drawn, a little bit wide, but to me, it's one of Terry's better bets on the day. So I like that one.
I see 8. You can get just over 8 to 1 now on Hollywood there. So you might get, looks like a sort of, you might be worth waiting around, and you might even get a slightly bigger price on race day there. Possibly, of course, I could be horribly wrong, and it could start at 4 to 1. Let's go into your best bet then.
Just for example, I mean, that horse has been backed in at Hollywood from 14s inwards. So there's been money for Imbewu. There's been money for 2 or 3 horses in that race. Obviously, the favorite is Desert Miracle, backed in from 11 to 2 into like 12, 14 to 10. There has been I think there has been a scratching, so the prices might have changed slightly, but there's been money for the top 3 in that race. So Imbewu 14 to 1 into 7 to 1, like just do it again. Sometimes you just got to follow the money a little bit, and if the boys at Hollywood have backed it, if Owens had a bet, then just keep watching this horse shorten.
Right, that's Imbewu there. We'll keep that in mind. Maybe I'm definitely going to be looking for a jackpot and a pick 6 on Saturday. I always do on July day. And then, Al, your next one, Flying Carpet at evens for a place.
I just realised both my bets are the Terry yards. So hopefully the yards in good form when they come down on the weekend. Flying Carpet, it just comes out that Daily News 2000 race. For me, I just think it's going to turn out to be strong form lines. You already had Copper Mountain come out and win on the weekend, just gone convincingly, with ease. And Copper Mountain was just behind Flying Carpet in that race. So again, good recent form line off the back of that. And Flying Carpet is one of these horses which it's got a bit of potential, but it just seems to not bring its A game to the races on some of the bigger race meetings. So I'm hoping they sorted that out. It wasn't a bad run, 4 lengths off Linebacker. So for me, at level weights, so for me, Flying Carpet evens for top 3 would be my best bet on the card.
Excellent. And remember, you can follow Alan. He's been posting for many years on the Good for the Game forum. Got a great reputation there. We'll put a link down to that at the bottom, and also put a link to his Twitter handle as well. Jason, are you on Twitter still? I don't really see you posting much on Twitter.
I'm still there. I'll tag you now and again when I get a bit
yes. Oh, hold on, I did actually see now that I think about it. We had chat over the last couple of days. I remember. I'll put your Twitter handle down below the show as well if guys want to follow you on Twitter there. And then, guys, any closing comments on the day? Anything else you're looking forward to, even other sport-wise on the weekend, Alan?
I think just something's jumped out for me when I started looking at the rest of the card. In the first race, I've never seen a first-timer from the Snaith Yard unraced running in the first race. So I saw it was 18 to 1. I don't know if the yard has said anything about it. It just caught my eye. It's kind of it's the kind of big one of their big owners, Nick Johnson. Running in the first 18 to 1. So I'm probably going to back that tonight because I just can't see a Snaith free runner on July day starting at 18 to 1. So it could be anything, that horse. I have no idea. And I think in the second race, I liked Captain Lannister as another one, but I'll pop that on the forum as well. Just another one that comes from the recent Grade 1 race that was run. But yeah, no, looking forward to, as I said earlier on, looking forward to the rugby. It's nice that the racing finishes, I think, just before the rugby starts, so no clashes there. Looking forward to seeing how the Lions come out against the Lions. Looking forward to seeing the points lines on that. But to me, it's a weekend for overs in that game. So hoping to see something sensible from the bookies tonight or tomorrow on the points lines in that market. I think one of the SA refs is in charge as well. So.
I think there's been quite big movement on the handicap for the Lions there. I think, I haven't checked it on the bookies. Just some of the guys on WhatsApp have been saying like the Lions moved. I think, which means I think the Lions points could be quite high. And I'm talking now about the British and Irish Lions, but we'll see. I'm thinking overs this weekend as well. Weather's been perfect in Johannesburg, and the field should be nice and hard. Little Woozy, how are you feeling after the show? You've gone through a couple of drinks there. You still ready to go strong for a couple of hours?
Only one drink and a half. Obviously there's a full bottle of gin in the kitchen. No, guys, listen, I'm just very excited for, I think now that COVID's hit, I think you really value your time with your family, really value your time at home. really value the time that you get to just enjoy yourself. And for me, I think obviously watching Springboks versus Georgia tomorrow night, I think if that game's still going ahead, because you never know with this whole COVID protocols, I think that's going to be a great game. Obviously, the British and Irish Lions on the weekend be great. Obviously, we haven't touched on the Euros. I think the Euros this weekend will also be some good footy in terms of England, Ukraine on Saturday. I think they're playing. So I think I think it's a great weekend of football. Pity that there's not any like major hustle bustle. I see my Sharkies got rolled over by Province last night, 32-31. So I can't shout them home. But guys, it's a great day's racing. For all that it is World Sports Betting are also sponsoring the July and Josie on Saturday. So there's massive racing all over South Africa, and we're just very blessed and very privileged to actually be able to still race, still watch what we do, and still have South Africa's greatest horse race take place. I think we need to just take a breath and appreciate that we can sit back, have a few rand on our favorite horse while these jockeys and trainers and that make it happen. And kudos to Gold Circle, kudos to Hollywood Bets for getting this to fruition. And like I said, I know that the main panel discussion is also happening tonight, and I'm going to watch that on YouTube a bit later and just see what the very much the official pundits have to say and follow what they got. But for me, the other bets, you got to take a pick six on the day, you got to take a bark pot, first jackpot, second jackpot. The only other horse I want to touch on very quickly is race 6, number 12. I think Good Traveller is also a good price at 7-8 to 1 in the Durban Golden Horseshoe. This horse was favourite last time out at Scottsville. Was running on nicely, finished just off the pace, and I think it's left at the start. I think that's also one of the other values. So my plays for the day are going to be horses like I respect Flying Carpet. I mean, with respect, was 108 merit rated maiden in South Africa, the highest maiden rating I think that we've ever had. So, and in this field, definitely worth a punt at even money for a top 3. Race 4 is a minefield. Race 5, you've either got a banker horse like Desert Miracle, who comes out of some of the strongest form lines, or you've got to add in the 3K Lean and the 12 Imbewu. The 6th race, like I said, is quite open, and there's been money for the 2, the 4, and the 14. I'm going to add in the 12. Just very quickly running through a pick 6. Race 7, take what you like, guys. I mean, obviously, I like Do It Again. Our friends here in the camp of KOMMEDIEDING. You've got to respect Linebacker, Rascallion, Rainbow Bridge, and a few others. 8th race, which is probably the best race on the card we haven't touched on, War of Athena versus Captain's Ransom. Is it a boat race? Isn't it a boat race? I don't think the prices are right. I don't think War of Athena is an even money shot and Captain's Ransom 18 to 10. I'd have them both 14 to 10, maybe 15 to 10. Let the punters, pick which they feel. I'm in the camp of Captain's Ransom. I think Captain's Ransom will have War of Athena's measure. I was very impressed with War of Athena's last win. But having said that, this horse has been on the boil for almost 10 months now. Been a hard campaign. If it wins, kudos to them. World-class training feet by Paul Matchett and the connections. It'll be fantastic. It'll be an absolute gem for racing. But having said that, Captain Ransom coming back from a bit of a break. Justin Snaith knows how to win these races. That's for me the horse to beat. 22 to 10. What a great price at Hollywood right now. So for me, that's where I'll be going. Don't discount Princess Keller. Obviously coming back in trip. I think that'll also suit it if you want to go a little bit wider. And the horses like Chat Ching and maybe Mount Laurel, who at the weights is also weighted to get close. The ex-Gary Alexander runner. We've touched on race 9. I think MK's Pride's a horse to beat, but I'll be chasing that home with Singforafa. And race 10 Get Out Stakes. I think the favourite's a worthy favourite, Capiora. My value in the race is actually when I say value, I thought it would be a little bit of a bigger price, but I think the horse to beat is the 8 Silver Operator, run against top quality horses that are running in the July today. So if I'm stuck, if I need to get out of it, I'm having a bet on the 8 Silver Operator in the last.
The beautiful thing about a last race, you can always get out of it, at least until then. And there's nothing better than actually going to that last race ahead. But gents, thanks very much. It's been great talking Durban July again with you guys. Certainly for me, the #1 race of the year. Also, of course, enjoy the Met, and we'll probably do a preview for that one too. But I look forward to watching the show again and just taking note of some of your comments there. Jason, have a cracking weekend, and look forward to seeing how your tips go.
100%, Brenty. Thanks very much for the opportunity. All the best to the guys from Good for the Game. Alan, as per usual, a very pleasure to listen to you. You've also just made me change my selections here and there and think a little bit more, which you always do, and rightly so. your record speaks for itself on Good for the Game. And yeah, like I said, guys, just just stay safe, just enjoy your time with your family, and enjoy having a bet on Saturday. And for the guys that can afford to do that, enjoy it even more.
Excellent. And Alan, great chatting to you again. Look forward to chatting with you on the forum and on Twitter and all the rest, on the rugby as well this weekend. Have a cracking weekend. Yeah,
thanks, Brent. Thanks, Jason. No, great talking. It's been a year since we did this show last time, so hopefully next year as well we're doing it with the crowds flooding back to the racing, because that'd be amazing. No, looking forward to a good weekend, and we'll speak on the forum, and good luck to the rest of the guys on the forum.
Excellent. Thanks, everyone. And just a reminder to subscribe to our channel if you